All right, call the meeting to order. I'll ask if you'll stand and face the flag. Terry Haycraft, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Terry. Next on the agenda is approval of special call meeting minutes on May 31st, 2023. Those were sent out to everyone ahead of time. If there's any questions or comments on that, I'll entertain those at this time.
I make a motion.
Mayor, I did have one correction. It mentioned that I indicate that there's 4 counties that did not have a sheltered, did not have a facility. It may have been changed. It was sheltered facility instead of just facility.
Okay.
That's the only one. I had.
Anyone else? Motion by Clayton, a second. Second by Tootie, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval and ratification of bills. We were sent the bills earlier as well. Are there any questions? I'll entertain those at this time. If not,
I had a couple again, and I apologize. Usually I try to get here early enough to talk to Lori, and Lori can always answer the questions, so it won't take up so much time. The ones I had was on the ST fogging for nearly 12,000. I assume that's for the
That's the mosquito fog.
mosquito fog. And then the software ST evacuator or something like that, 24,741
Where's that at? What's
from
the?
RJ.
Yeah, their GPS stuff for their excavator
Okay.
for Public Works. That was
Okay.
approved in the budget.
I apologize for not getting here early enough
No,
to
that's
ask
all right.
Lori about those.
We accept it.
anyone else? Entertain a motion to accept the motion by Billy.
I'll second.
Second by Gina, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, this time we'll open it for public comment for possible uses of municipal road aid funds for fiscal year 23-24. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment or have a question about this? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item, public comment for possible use of local government economic assistance fund, mineral tax return for fiscal year 23-24. If anyone has any comments or questions on that?
Lori, how much does that entail? How much money do we get on that?
We don't really have a figure. It's 4.5% is what you looked up, right, Sabrina?
Yeah, but we don't get what we're projected to get. We just get whatever the state sends us. That's on the DFG website. I think this past year, we got, what I said, 18,000?
I think so.
I'm thinking it was 18,000 something. And we just budget for what we got based on the last year, but that could go up or down. We're not real sure. We don't
Okay.
have it projected on that.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. We'll move to the next item, public comment for the proposed municipal budget for fiscal year 23-24. Any comments, questions from anyone on that? Okay. Next item on the agenda is visitors. We have the utility commission members here. I think you guys want to call your meeting to order, Bob, is that what I understood?
I'll call the meeting of the Leitchfield Utilities Commission to order. Special call meeting notice having been given to the newspapers and authority of that, so it is a special call meeting. We do have a quorum present. I'm Bob Crawford. I'm the chairman of the Leitchfield Utilities Commission. Greg Bernard is here and Keith Jones is here, as well as Mayor Harold Miller is here as a member of the commission. We do have several of our staff here. Superintendent Dwight Embry's with us. Our attorney David Vickery's with us. Also, we have the head of the water plant, Darren Dennison, and Jim Milliner here, Robin Strader and Ricky Lush from sewer, Brad Beatty with gas, in case you had any technical questions. I know I'm really on a first-name basis with all of you, but for the decorum of the meeting, I may refer to you as Mr. Cottrell or Mr. Dallas, Ms. Haycraft, whatever, just for the formality of the meeting. But our meeting here in order. Obviously, Commissioner Poggiali's not here. He's been suffering from some health issues, and we keep him in our thoughts and prayers. But the meeting is now open. Really, all that was on our agenda was for the shared joint meeting, questions and answers. So I guess the floor is open for such.
We'll start with you, Denny.
Okay. I think we submitted the questions to you guys in advance, so you know kind of where we're coming from. And just from my perspective, since I think most of the questions were mine, but it's more of information on my mind. And we've got an opportunity now with Blue Oval coming that we're really going to have to work together in situations to help industry and even subdivisions to come here. So even though we're separate, we've got a symbiotic relationship, and we're going to have to work together. So my ideal is this is what we need to be doing, working together. And I think we're to blame too, in part. We need better communications with you guys, and you guys need better communications with us. So I'll just start with the questions. First one I had is, what's the procedure if a business developer wants to get utilities here? What do they have to go through? And
Well, first off, they make application here at City Hall. It depends on which type of service you're talking about, water, sewer, or gas, really what it entails that they have to go to. Also, what kind of demand that they're going to have, where they're located, what type of service they're seeking. So that answer really has a lot of variables to it.
Sure. Can you give us an idea of what the cost to the developer would be? Like if, I guess, again, it's going to vary, but you can give rough ideas like the cost per feet and what would you expect to incur and what the developer would have to incur.
Well, typically, of course, natural gas lines are cheaper to run, and their payback in revenue to the system is much shorter. So we tend to be more aggressive in running natural gas lines. Water, again, it depends on where it's at. We're kind of limited. We have a defined area that was agreed upon a very long time ago with the Grayson County Water District. There are even areas inside the city limits of Leitchfield that are water district areas. So we can't go outside those boundaries. And again, pretty much if we've got water to their property line, they're responsible to get it to us from there. In other words, we don't go in and build out water lines or sewer lines within the subdivision. That's a responsibility of the developer.
Okay, so as far as the developer, what kind of costs would they incur? I mean, what's the general, the hook-on? Is there a hook-on fee for water, hook-on for gas?
Tap fee for sewer ranges from $500 to $800, depending on the size of the tap. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, and this is what the developer would have to incur. They would have to,
Yeah, they would apply for a tap, sewer tap, and then typically, we would, they would do what they need to do. We would inspect it, and when it passes inspection, we would take it over, and it would be our system. But they would be totally responsible from that tap, all on their side.
okay.
It would be their responsibility.
If somebody's going to bring industry here, would that be a problem for a hookup of water and sewer, say an industrial park or one of our industrial parks?
Again, no. If water is in our area, we would make that available. If it's in the water district's area, they would have to do that.
Sure.
And, sewer, we recently completed the water plant addition, which has gained us quite a bit of capability in gallons per day to service that. So while maybe a couple of years ago we would have been pressed to provide a new industry with large amount of water. We've basically doubled our capacity just recently.
Plant's really nice. I was there for the opening. It was, guys did a great job and it's really run well. The
Yeah,
plant
we're
seems
quite
like-
proud of it.
Yeah, city's proud. I mean, everybody should be proud of it. Do y'all have, well, back up again. Is there any problem with gas? Do we have plenty of gas for you? I mean, I can envision the gas being more of a problem for businesses to come here than,
No, actually, I think we have quite a bit of capability there too, as well. As far as natural gas goes, I'll tell you a little bit about how that operates, and Brad can chime in if he wants to, but we get our gas for the city of Leitchfield through the Texas gas pipeline. There's a dedicated city gate over in Harnett. It's kind of out in the middle of the field. And we pipe it to Leitchfield. There's a regulator station out there at the end of the bypass, right there on 259 North, and then there's also one there at the fairgrounds. And so we buy our gas from Constellation Energy, and I have a pretty good relationship with the account manager there. His name's John Shearer. And, but in an effort to make sure that we're not letting the fox guard the hen house, so to speak, we've always worked with another consultant. That's Insight Energy is what they're known as now. It used to be Phil and McCord, so they're an arm's length, and they advise us on that. But they assure us, I mean, we make nominations on the pipeline every day. I mean, we bought gas on the Texas gas pipeline. We do it every day because right now we're in the middle of injection season where we put it into storage. And then in the winter, we have some storage built up because obviously that pipeline's hundreds of miles long and not everybody can draw out of it at the same time, so they have to store gas along it at different points. So we buy gas every day.
yeah.
And we nominate gas every day on that pipeline and manage that storage. So I have a pretty good relationship with them, but yes, gas is available.
As a side note, I was lucky enough to get to take a tour of Louisville Gas and their facility over in Meade County, and it was pretty amazing. But I asked them about Litchfield, and they spoke pretty highly of Litchfield, so that says a lot too when I ask for information. Do you guys, as utilities, have any incentives for owners to come here or developers to develop here?
No incentives that I'm aware of. And, you know, I've been doing a little research since I got that question list, and I'm not aware of any municipality that has that. There is a KRS that allows for some recapture of some capital outlay by developers. It has to be over at least a 10-year period. I think it's KRS like 96.593 or whatever, but we haven't had anybody request anything on that. I mean, I know I looked up Bowling Green Municipal Utilities website today. They have an extensive checklist of what they got to have to participate in that or not.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you have to use a registered professional engineer and design it, and then have the numerator has to be the total cost, and then, you know, they have to have a denominator. You have to choose like linear square feet or other than that, but,
Cost-benefit analysis?
right.
Yeah. But
That's really what we run into in sewer. I mean, you know, sewer is a very expensive project. It's been a few years now, but for instance, Grayson County High School had their own package plan, and they needed to be absolved of that, really. And we worked with the city council at the time. At that time, Grayson County High School was not inside the city limits, and it was like, to provide you sewer service, you really need to be inside the sewer, inside the city limits. And you know, they agreed to that annexation. I guess, you know, the city's the benefit of quite a bit of payroll tax down there now. And but the cost behind that, we received a grant from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and we also sewered Fountain View Estates about that same time. But we really didn't have to expend any money out of the system to do that. I think Horsley Construction did the high school project for about $214,000. We'd gotten about $750,000, so the balance went toward Fountain View, and then there was even just a little bit left over for a head wall project down at the sewer plant.
would that be something you all could, utilities would consider doing, having an incentive plan? Because I know LG&E has a similar one, or has, well, you're talking about
I
Bowling
think we'd have
Green
to
where they
review
would.
that. I mean, that would take, it depends on how big a project it was, how capital intensive that was. I mean, I'm not saying we would just totally rule it out, but we'd have to be very careful in the analysis of that before we'd agree to it.
The next question-
We'll have a blanket program, for instance.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody has to be specific.
Right.
And outline who qualifies and
Right.
make sure you get the payback from it. As far as subdivision housing development, it'd be the same answer related to industry on that. And then the next one was the same question related to that. We covered any programs for advancing costs for low-interest loans or anything like that, which we don't. And you said typically it's not done other than the payback. Is there anything that you're aware of that the utilities could do? Next question is facilitate economic development. And again, we're kind of under a pretty short window here with the Blue Oval. We're already behind what other communities are doing as far as
I understand.
preparing for industry and development.
Well, of course, the recent completion of the water plant's one thing that we've done, and we've been quite busy with that. I mean, I know somewhere in your list of questions you talked about Rough River, and it's been about 10 to 15 years ago. Rough River has a big siltation problem. It's filling in. And in our original intake, that lower intake valve is basically inaccessible, and we realized that. And so we want to maintain that intake there at the old water plant for duplication purposes. We don't want the Corps to take that away from us, so we still use it some. But we do have a new raw water intake that's a floating intake, sits down there near the Water District's plant near Cave Creek. That's a fairly impressive structure in and of itself. And then we pipe raw water, we treat water from there across Johnny Frank Road through the Duff community out to our water plant. So I'm not sure if everybody was aware of that, but we bring water there and then we treat it and then bring it on to town. And in our analysis of that, I mean, we had Western Kentucky University come up and say, it's like, okay, do we need to move to this new location, water intake-wise, or is there a source of water near our plant, such as wells or anything like that? And they studied that, and it was concluded that the raw water intake was the best solution. So, but that came at some cost. I mean, we still have some debt outstanding. It's at like 2% interest on a 40-year. We've been paying for it for about 10 years now. I think it was 2012 when we issued that debt. But thanks to Darren and the water folks and the commission, we were kind of forward thinking in that, we think. So the fact that the water levels are down is really not impacting us currently.
And it won't continue to, because from
Right.
what I understand, this could be like a 5 or 6 year.
That's correct. But we're in a kind of deep water part of the lake. It's a rocky part of the lake, so the field's not near as bad there. And so, we've done that. But that incurred some debt, and then, it was a huge project to do this water plant. We were first led to believe it might be an $8 million plant, and ended up being a $13 million plant. And now they're telling us that a similar plant would be close to $30 million. So that's kind of been a deal to kind of do economic development with. I mean, we've doubled our capacity. The next big item is at the wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant's current location, I think, dates back about 1980. And so it went through one major addition, because if you remember, though, if you look down there, those towers, that was the original structure, but now we have a lagoon. And Ricky was just at a recent meeting and reported to us, the percentage of fill in that lagoon. And so we have actually already hired an engineering firm called HMB Associates. They were going to do a facilities plan and submit it to the Division of Water. The Division of Water came back and said, well, you can't just do a facilities plan, you have to do more of a regional plan. Regional meaning not several counties wide, but I think they wanted to see a plan that says, what if you had to do sewer outside the city? And so they're working on that currently. But again, with the cost of infrastructure rising astronomically, we think that could tie up a lot of our capital as well going forward.
And we're talking about sewer.
Yes.
Right. I mean, is Sewer, are we at capacity, is the utilities at capacity as far as your sewer capabilities?
capacity, but you, Ricky or Rob, you want to address anything to that?
It's a 2.0 plant, currently, and we're averaging about 1.5 million gallons a day. During a rain event, we're maxing at around 4.5.
So as a layman, how do you adapt if you're, I mean, I wouldn't understand how you could go from,
Well, hydraulic, water, groundwater, stormwater coming into the system, there's leaks and cracks. That's how you jump up so fast.
yeah,
People with manhole covers slid off, lines near the creek. You know, those are sources of inflow that can get in during a rain event. And so that's how the flow can jump so fast.
okay.
It doesn't take a lot of rain
Sure.
to make several million gallons of water.
So during normal times, you're at 75% capacity during normal times,
Yes.
and then an extra event puts it over capacity, I assume then.
Our peak flow is supposed to be 5 million gallons a day, but it's closer to 4.5. What they designed does not actually go through the plant. It will run over the walls of the contact chamber before it gets to the creek, before it gets treated, if we try to let that much water through.
Okay. So, long-term plans for the sewer system, because I assume that would be
Well, we do think
industry,
within
depending on the
next few
industry, would
years,
come,
yeah, we
could
do
be an
think
issue.
in the next few years, we're going to have a sewer plant. And we've begun that process.
What's the timetable?
Well, judging from the way the water, I mean, I think you're looking overall, 6, 7, 8 year project total.
For the sewer?
Yes.
Would you all be capable of handling something if we had a huge influx during that period of time before the 6 or 8 year period? Would it be possible to adapt?
Again, you could be, you would be limited by the amount of sewage that they were going to dispose of. So in other words, if you've got a distribution center that's more people, doesn't discharge a lot into the sewer system, and we're just providing water and gas, yeah, we can handle that. But if you're going to attract an industry that would flow, 2 million gallons a day in it, then no, we can't handle that.
Or even a fair amount more, we'd have to say we're not able to do,
Right.
accommodate you.
Currently, that's correct.
Hey,
Yeah.
Andy, would you yield one for a minute?
Hey, happy to.
Are we limited on any kind of industry locating here for sewer? Being able to get rid of their sewage? Is there any industry that we would have to say no until we have a new sewer plant?
Well, I would think that anything that would probably be in that 1 million gallon a day or better would be pretty limited, right?
I mean, you have an example like how much plastic goes through, or, I mean,
Well,
but I know it per industry, but.
yeah. I mean, obviously, any food processing type thing, I mean, Brian's are huge wastewater, and really outside of the water district, water customer.
It's all on.
I've got one. What about new subdivisions being built? For example, if someone wanted to build a new subdivision in North Litchfield, which is already a largely populated
Yeah.
place, I mean, our new subdivisions, are they,
They would also have to hook on, but glad you brought it up. I mean, one of the projects we're working on, we refer to as the Woodlawn Lift Station. If you go out the end of Woodlawn Avenue, there is a lift station that we currently have out there, and it's really at capacity. But we have Kenvirons already working on redoing that, and we are going to use the portion of ARPA money that we were allowed to keep toward that project. I think that ended up being $500,000. That probably won't take care of that project. And we're actually even researching on that particular lift station, moving it down a little lower, closer to the bypass door. More area with gravity flow to it.
Is it a possibility of building a sewer plant in a different location, keeping what you had, but putting one like on
That's
West
one of the
Litchfield?
things that HMB is doing the analysis and research on.
Which West Litchfield would take
Yeah.
care of the cheese plant, and that's they on that end of town that way.
Right. Yeah, but one of the things that they'll be studying is, can we stay where we're at? Can we redo something, or do we have to look for something totally new? That will be in the scope of their analysis. And the gentleman's name with HMB that we most closely work with is Matt Baker, and we've known Matt for quite a few years. And as a matter of fact, I saw Matt not long ago, and he agreed to come to one of our meetings soon to kind of update us on what they've started on.
Does everybody in the city limits, are they offered sewer? I mean,
There are some areas within the city limits of Litchfield that right now do not have sewer and probably cannot feasibly be offered sewer, just simply because of the cost. I mean, it would be not feasible for all the citizens of Litchfield to invest, say, $1.5 million for, say, 6 houses that's going to use less than 100 gallons of water a day. That would just never pay off in 50 lifetimes.
But as far as other subdivisions would be a cost analysis
Right.
basis for you guys,
Yeah.
you would consider if somebody wanted to put in a subdivision with 200 units, something like
Exactly, yes.
that, that would be,
That person would need an engineering study that they provide to us to be able to do that.
and they would have to advance the cost, like to get
Correct.
the lines to the
Yes.
sewer
Yes.
on there. Okay. Anybody else have any for them? A lot of the questions you've already answered. We talked about Rough River. One concern I had was, what happens if Rough River completely fails? I mean, we're all down the river, I guess, in that situation, but when they're talking about replacing the dam, is there any other source of water? I mean, we're married to Rough River, I assume.
We're basically married to Rough River. I'm not aware of any worst-case scenario that would put us totally out of water and where our raw water intake is at. Do you have anything to agree? Yeah.
Part of the lake, I think you're covered, because when they drop it to winter pool at 470, you still can easily pump the water there. 30-foot hole of water there still.
So it seems like water and gas, utilities are in great shape for
Correct.
somebody who wants to come here.
Yes.
I mean, that's a big selling point, when you can say, okay, hey, we've got gas, we've got water, but the sewer may be a different animal
Right.
depending on,
And again, having some knowledge of the situation for an industrial park, I mean, you may have had access to the study that was done recently. I can't remember the guy, the name of the firm that did that for the IDC, but, they identified some potential sites, but, for industry, we really need land.
yeah. Some other questions I had was any concerns about the pipes themselves? And I brought this up at the Historical Society. We had an issue with the sewer, and it was ceramic. I mean, so it had to be, what, 50s? Something like that, so.
Inside the old part of the town, yeah, we have a lot of very old lines. That is something that we chase all the time. David could probably expand on that. We've, within the last couple of years, time escapes me, I think it's been within the last year, but we contracted with a satellite company to try to identify maybe places where lines are leaking within the city of Litchfield, and we have listening equipment. We've had the Kentucky Rural Water Association in here to try to help us. But yes, those lines are susceptible to that. But then, what you want to do, I think would cause a lot of us a lot of heartache is you've got a street that maybe has an old line on it, and right now it's dry, and nobody sees a drop of water anywhere. And we go in and say, well, we're going to tear your street up because we want to put a new line in at some considerable cost. We've never seen that to be prudent, I guess, until we know that there's several leaks along a particular line, or we've got a particular problem, then we'll try to solve for that. How many feet of, anybody know how many feet of water line we're trying to replace a year?
intersections, different problem areas. We just finished North English Street. And then last year you did, David, what we concentrated on last year?
Last year we made some service lines.
We do think that there's, what we're calling service lines is the area between where it gets tapped into the main line and the meter. You know, it's usually a very small line. But we did have some rulers. I don't know if we still have them or not, but it's pretty amazing what a little hole in a water line can produce in gallons of leakage. We'll try to get you one of those rulers if we still got any yet.
The leakage is measurable, right? I mean, I'm sure we can,
Yeah.
it's measurable between what,
I mean, we do look
Produce.
at that, it's, yeah, the difference between the gallons that Darren and Jim are producing and then the gallons that we're selling.
how does the utilities Litchfield compare as far as water? Everybody has water loss.
Correct.
I just,
For a
what's
city of our age and our size, I think we're comparable.
middle of the pack or
Yes.
upper, lower?
I think we're middle of the pack, basically. Is that fair assessment?
I would say so.
Any thoughts of using dogs to find water leaks?
Using what?
Dogs.
Dogs? Well, I don't know if you've got a good idea on that. I'm sure we're,
Actually, I ran into a guy, that's what he does. He's an engineer that finds water leaks, and he uses dogs to smell the chlorine in the the water, and it's pretty interesting to talk to him about it. And, he flies all over the United States,
Yeah.
and his dog flies first class with him when he flies. But anyway, it was interesting. But any thoughts about what's the plan as far as the water leak? And it's kind of getting away from, mine was more informational that
you're
for the
talking about,
citizens. Yeah.
Again, that's something we work on nearly daily. And we've exhausted a lot of ways. I mean, I named 3 of them. We've, used satellite, we've used listening equipment, we've used the Rural Water Association, just site. As you're well aware, we live in the karst region, and we can have a water leak, and it'll never show up at the surface because it's going in a cave. And those are, we just have to have a lot of luck to find those.
We're trying to replace all the service lines. We went to a class back last year, the guy from Mayfield, he took his water loss down to 5%.
Did he use dogs?
He used no.
Okay.
As the kid. They just started doing a whole line replacement on the service line. That's where you're gonna find most of your leaks. They had it so quick. If we had something big on the main, it would show its face.
Is that expensive program, David? Is that expensive, the program that they initiated at Mayfield? I'm just curious, is something we could,
They usually
yeah.
feel like, they just went out and started replacing them on 2 back trucks. So, yeah, it's pretty expensive. $50 right there. And then, you take a whole new service line, $600 a piece. Then the black top that you're gonna tear up, which we're starting on the levee top where we've got to go through the whole part of Leitchfield. So we're gonna kind of give 2 birds with 1 stone right there.
But that's planned.
We're gonna do all these.
Other questions I had was.
Hold
how-
on, Denny, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So we've talked about water lines and leaks. How do you check for, like, leaks in a sewer line? I mean, what do you?
Usually, camera and smoke test.
Do you
we-
just randomly do those every so often, or how do you know if there is, like, a leak in the sewer lines? Unless you just see it or smell it.
Well, you have inflow coming in from the driveway, you get more flow going into your lift station, which, instead of getting it on the line on a daily basis.
These lift stations are spread out. We have 22 large stations. They're checked every day, so that's what he's talking about in minutes. is like at a low point in a basin. So that area that it services, if he sees more minutes there, then he knows that's where he needs to go start looking for inflow.
Okay. Kenny?
Yeah, it'll shoot up.
If it's what?
A force main, that's where, from the lift station up to the next gravity point, it's under pressure.
Okay.
Is there a lot of money spent on leak detection? I mean, is that pretty costly for you guys? This is more
Reason- I mean, I
informational
think
for
that
me, I
satellite
guess anybody
program was
else.
20-something thousand dollars that was spent.
24, 25,000.
For,
For
on-
just,
I may add too, that we have equipment, we have leak detection equipment that we utilize, we have guys do that periodically. I don't have personnel, but they do that full-time. But sometimes during our downtown times, we use, that leak detection equipment, we'll have some luck with that.
you remember how much we paid for that?
Well,
Yeah, so.
And we actually rule water in there, they look for leaks. We have a guy come in.
That's an association we belong to, rural water.
But now, with that being said, that's not foolproof. I mean, we've got a lot of holes for leaks, that water leaks in the blood, so I mean, there's no magic wand that you're gonna do the science. I wish it was.
Other questions I had, Bob, was profits. It looks, I've seen the sheets just for the public's information, the idea that the utilities,
Well, it
You're
varies
not-
from year to year. My goal, I think, when we set water and sewer, we don't want to hoard cash, but we don't want to burn cash. And so we try to keep our expenses within to where any net loss that you would see on a profit loss statement for water and sewer would be within their depreciation amounts that appear on the statement. You know, of course, our statements are a little bit odd to look through because of the way we have to account for grant income. You know, that all shows us inflow or an income revenue this year. That's why we're showing some pretty good numbers year to date in like water because of the delayed receipt of some grant income for the water plant. You know, we talk about it being $13 million. We borrowed 10.1, but we received a grant for $3 million for that plan. So, and a lot of that $3 million is flowing through our income statement,
yeah.
even though we're depreciating that asset out over a long period of time. But we've maintained a pretty solid cash position. Gas, obviously, that can go up and down, just depends on the weather. You know, we can't determine that. Obviously, when it gets cold in January, we sell a lot more gas.
Yeah.
But we've had some mild winters lately.
From what I can tell, gas is probably the most profitable
It
commodity.
is the most profitable
as far
of
as-
three. I mean, you know, each service really needs to kind of stand on its own, but, you know, and like the water plant, none of the gas revenue technically really goes to service that debt. I mean, you know, we have receipts for that, we have sinking funds. I mean, a fair amount of our cash is what we call restricted cash, because there's bond covenants there that we have to keep it. And, you know, from a total, I brought some audit reports, I'll look them up in a minute if you like, but, you know, our net position as a utility is about $19 million something now as far as, but, you know, it shows total assets of like 39, and then, you know, we have some debt outstanding. Of course, part of that debt outstanding, you'll see in your audit report that we tend to overlook. It only is going to come into effect, I guess, if the pension system fails, but you have that pension liability that shows up, and then you have that OPEB or other post-employment benefit liability that shows up. But, you know, that's one of the goals I think we have, is to maintain a balance sheet that debt to equity doesn't get out of whack. And I think we've done a good job of managing that.
So as far as the public, you should be aware that utilities, they're in the.
We're
they're not
fiscally sound.
Fiscally sound, and you're in profit, you're making profit, and you've got
yeah.
assets to support anything, a major.
We've got assets, but again, there, you know, we talk about assets. I mean, you got a a water plant that's valued, or you got pipes in the ground, who you gonna sell that to? I mean, there's a book value to it.
Right.
There's an asset on the books, but, you know, who you gonna turn around and sell a $13 million, highest bidder now for the water plant? Who is it? I mean, it's just, you know, it's just, one of the oddities, I guess, of municipal accounting.
Okay. Other questions I had was, you feel you got current staffing's more than adequate right now?
We do, you know, I think the superintendent has done a pretty good job of maintaining staff. You know, we don't want to get too many staff to where that's a burden. You know, we're like any other business. Cost of employees is our single biggest expense.
Sure.
And, you know, we're proud of our employees. We think they do a good job. We don't think we overpay any of them. I'm not embarrassed for any of you to request through open records what any particular person makes. You know, we don't feel like overpaying anyone. So we feel like we have, and we from time to time address those staffing situations. But again, we're all like all businesses. We compete for labor, and that gets tough. And one of the things that, you know, used to that was a huge selling point was this pension, and the fact that, hey, you could go to work for the city and retire with a pension benefit, and people paid attention to that. We have a generation now coming into the workforce that doesn't seem much interested in that. And that's a challenge, just like it's probably a challenge for you.
How has the Brownsville gas, I know people be surprised that Leitchfield Utilities supplies gas to Brownsville
Yeah,
area.
we did that basically. Brownsville got a grant and basically got some service offered to them to be able to put gas in Brownsville. They didn't have the expertise to run that themselves. Atmos Energy, which serves that particular part of the country in most places, did not want to take over. And the commission at that time, which has probably been 15 years or so ago or more, as I guess basically a way to just cooperate. And the fact that, you know, we get that gas really more from over towards Smiths Grove, and it feeds into Brownsville. But what has happened in that community, as you may be aware, in the southern part of Evans County, due to the exponential growth of Bowling Green, southern Edmonson County is building up. And I think Dwight had a listing, if that number's handy, number of customers Brownsville compared to, say, 10 years ago. It's probably 5 times.
How many customers are there over there, by the way? I'm just curious.
A little less than 300. I think there's like 280, 279.
280 customers?
Yeah.
Okay. So has that been pretty successful then?
In 2015, we had 67 customers,
So it's good.
so we've quadrupled that in the last 8 years.
Yeah. So I assume it's successful.
Yeah,
then.
it's
Does it make-
beginning. It's beginning to be profitable. Now, one thing that you know, the way we account for that, if any of David's crew or any, you know, any of their expenses while they're over there gets accounted for in that ledger sheet of Brownsville Gas. So we are not subsidizing that in any way. They're paying their own freight on that. It's not what I would call profitable by any means, but it's a good way for us to maybe cover some expenses while we're over that way.
Okay. One of the things that we were thinking about, listeners and questions too, about maybe providing utility services on the bypass the other way. And based on what you've indicated, that would be something that utilities would not advance out there. It would be left up to the customers to do that.
I think it's a fair assessment, mainly because, you know, if you've got a landowner that bypass is going to dissect, and that landowner is very determined that they're never going to do anything with that property, I don't think it would be a wise use of our cash and assets to run a big line out there that they say they're never going to use.
Hopefully,
You talk about the bypass from here to 54.
yeah, yeah.
You realize that what you do right back here is county, right?
I didn't realize all of it, but,
Yeah.
so it'd be pretty limited on what,
Yes.
Yeah.
so it's pretty limited on what y'all could do, it'd be just gas.
Gas.
And then, of course, you don't, like again, sewer, we go back to sewer being a
Yeah.
money
And-
loser,
And
but,
there's some sewer that's really over that way because of the Watkins Woods development of high school that comes in, comes back in behind there.
I can tell you, there's no sewer out on McDonald Road.
Right.
Well, prior to you that ground back there, it's gonna be really hard to sue.
On that.
It's gonna be almost impossible.
Again, Bob, we're gonna have to work together on this. I mean, how would you feel about the city maybe getting involved, and maybe the city, if we found somebody that we thought would be a good investment, if the city just advanced the costs for some of this stuff, and then we could get, the city could be reimbursed by the developer or reimbursed by the industry?
That's certainly within your prerogative.
But would you all be opposed to working on something like that with us?
I mean, no, if the cost of the utilities being paid for or being borne by someone, it would be,
But you would have to be involved in collecting it back for the city to some degree. I don't know if there's any legal issues with us doing that, but it would help the city encourage people to come here. I think if we could offer some type of incentive like that. Yeah, if we advance the cost for it, then this utilities, I mean, they'd have to be, I guess, unless we'd have some type of contract with the developer or the industry,
Yeah, I think you could have a contract with the developer.
that they wouldn't even have to be involved. We could just do it, and then they could just make payments to the city. I mean, we encourage industry to come here all the time by doing other things. This is maybe thinking outside the box a little bit, but something that we need to consider. I think that pretty well covers my question. And again, I don't want the utilities to think this is, from my perspective, that this is inquisition. We're going to have to work together. I mean, this is an opportunity that's not going to come but once in a lifetime, just like the WK Parkway come when I was a kid. This is going to be another situation like that.
Right.
So we're going to have to be, in my opinion, prepared and do what we can to encourage people to
I
come
believe
here.
we are open-minded to that. And appreciate your service, and appreciate all that. As a reminder, you're welcome at each of our meetings. As far as operational questions, I'm kind of opening up the staff here, but they would, be glad to, entertain any of your questions on a day-to-day basis. Their phones would be open, the office is open. Also keep in mind that the mayor, in his official capacity, is a Utilities Commission member, so, anytime that, we take an action on something, he can report that back to you, or vice versa, if there's something that affects us, and we need to talk about something again. And again, you're welcome to attend any of our meetings that, we do everything,
Any more thoughts
transparent.
about putting it on open record so we could just watch it?
Well, no, we haven't considered it anymore. I'll share with you my personal thought on that. Again, my personal thought, I'm on here tonight, but, I don't know how long y'all been doing that, but for every number of years that you've been doing it, I've never once had anybody call me or text me and say, Councilmember A really made a nice discussion about policy B, and you should watch that. Now, on several occasions, I had people call and text me and say, did you see someone embarrassed the mayor? Did you see someone get upset and push papers at him? Well, you need to tune in and watch that. Did you see a member, not represent himself so well? I've had that occasionally happen, and
That's just human nature.
it is.
I mean,
Mr.
That's
Crawford.
just the way it is, but
I, for one, as a city council person and a resident of the city of Litchfield, would love to see the Utilities Commission meetings live streamed for more transparency, just so,
Yeah.
I mean, I, as a resident, can know more about what's going on. But I'm one of those people who
I understand
watches
that, but
what
again, we are,
is
I mean,
happening.
our meetings are open, they are recorded, and, you know,
Where
the
can we
minutes
find
are
the
there for any
recordings?
official action. I mean,
Recorded being
they're audio.
videoed?
No, they're audio recorded.
And where could those be found?
I have those.
Where could the public, if they chose, I mean, if they just got bored one night and said, I want to listen to the Utilities Commission
They have
meeting?
to do an open records request for it, and we only are required to keep those for 30 days.
And in a, you know, in an unofficial capacity, sometimes, maybe you didn't hear a question right and you make a statement and it didn't really affect anything, but somebody sitting there at night could clip that and it's like, let's embarrass Bob Crawford with that.
I think that we are in a time where that's going to happen regardless. I mean, someone could take something from this meeting and completely turn it around. But I am 100% for transparency and offering our public all of the information that they want and can access it easily without having to come into City Hall to do an open records request. I mean, I, for one, don't know anything that's taken place in the Utilities Commission since about March of 2020. Now, is that my fault for not attending utilities meetings? Absolutely. But I don't remember reading much of anything in the newspapers or hearing about it on the radio, which then again, it's not our local media's job to report on every single meeting. I don't know when the last water rate increase was, the last sewer rate increase. I mean, those are things that, even if they happen, it may not be a lot, which it probably isn't, and we're not really, it's hard to gauge your utility bill whenever it comes in.
I understand that.
Our constituents are asking for the
Right.
meeting to be streamed.
I think it's just a good image for the city,
And that's what
for you
they-
guys and the city.
I understand where you're
Right.
coming from. The people that are in here asking for it.
Yes.
So
Well,
that's our deal.
I appreciate your
think
input.
Then we get into the little, well, y'all don't want to do it, and we do it.
All right.
So, again, transparency is what they're wanting, is what they're asking for when you go out here and knock door to door, which y'all don't do. So,
Transparency and accessibility.
so yeah, they're wanting all of them, planning and zoning meetings, they're wanting, because, just like you mentioned a while ago, today's generation is all about it.
Right. Well, I appreciate your input.
Bob, how often do you think that we, as a council and the Utilities Commission, should get together a year? Quarterly?
No, I really don't think that's necessary on that rapid a basis. Again, you're welcome to come to our meetings, but
Sure.
as far as like a joint meeting, unless there's just a big project, I mean, by ordinance, we are tasked with the responsibility to administer and maintain and operate the utility system. And we think that's what we've done and will continue to do. But, you know, with several new council members and a new administration, you know, we appear here as at your request, but as far as something on an ongoing basis, I don't really see any need for that.
Bob, are there any questions you think we should have asked that we didn't ask? And the other question I have would be, how can we better work together?
I don't know of any questions right now. As far as better working together, again, the doors are open, and so when you have an inquiry from constituency, or if you have a particular project that you want to talk about, I think first of all, come to Dwight. Secondly, let the commission know about it, and then we'll see what we can do to work on it together.
Well, which y'all know, I've been here the longest, so you all know if I have a question, I come straight to you.
Right.
I don't wait any kind of way. If I want something, whatever, I call it.
My office is open, and for the new council people here, I've offered it to the old ones. I'd love to take you to the water plant, sewer plant, show you around, show our new intake. If you have any questions, call me or come by. Love to meet with you. I'd love to serve you in any way I can. We are
pleasure of the commission, but I serve the council too.
Well, I've never been turned down from a question or an answer come to me. I mean, anything I've ever asked, Mr. Carter, Mr. Henry,
Yeah.
you know,
And
you're
I've sat on
you're
your
always
side of the
open
table.
to
I
it.
don't know
So
if any of you remember that or not.
it's just
I
a,
do.
it's just a lot to learn sitting,
1986 to 1993, I was in one of your seats.
sitting in this seat. It's a lot to learn
It is.
in the city. I mean, you have to really dedicate time to really get what we entail in the city and go through every day. As small as we are, I can't imagine Louisville or, you know, sitting in.
One thing I think this helpful to the citizens are, I don't know how many questions I get, why can't you do anything about the water? Or why can't, as far as city council, why can't you do anything? And I try to explain the utilities and the city council is totally separate, the mayor is totally separate entities. We are, but we're not.
We are,
You know.
but we're not. It's really explicitly stated in it, we're a component unit of the city of Litchfield. We're, you know, it's kind of its own enterprise underneath the umbrella of the city of Litchfield. And, you know, there's many reasons why utilities commissions are formed and maintained. And, you know, it's a different stream of revenues, and they're accounted for separately and,
Different attorneys,
right, by ordinance.
right? My last comment, and I promise this is my last comment, I would request y'all consider maybe broadcasting. I do get a lot of that
All right.
from people. In fact, the number one complaint I've had, and I've been on the city council, with the issue with the broadcast, can't hear,
Yeah.
or didn't show up. And I promise you, after every meeting, that I get 4 or 5 texts or phone call, when are you going to fix that?
Right.
So people are interested, and people have asked about having everything on there. So I would ask y'all to maybe consider that at a later time to possibly go on.
We will discuss it again.
Thanks. That's all I had.
Denny, you
Yes,
was
sir.
talking about the city and the utilities working together. Wesley, you've been here long enough to remember. I can remember we had to sneak the walls up from each other constantly. So we're way ahead of that now. Always, yeah.
Well, from a legal standpoint, I don't want to hear stuff like that,
Oh, yeah.
but I certainly understand it.
Yeah, we're way ahead of that now. We all work together good. So, I mean, I think we got a better relationship than what
I agree.
they have here.
I agree.
And we do thank you all. I mean, or I do. I'm sure everybody feels the same way.
Any other commission members like to say anything, or any staff? If we're ready, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Arlene?
You mentioned the grant with the high school several years ago, and then you mentioned the grant with Brownsville. Who headed up the grant? Was it the high school, and was it the city of Brownsville, or how did
They actually, we came about it, I think, but I'm going to have to do some research on that. But what I believe happened is the high school kind of spearheaded it. The school system kind of said, hey, they went to the Department of Education, didn't they, and the state. And I can't remember that. I'll have to research that. And it was kind of, yeah, the utilities went with the, kind of with the Board of Education and said, hey, we need this project. And as far as Fountain View, I think it was basically timed a lot to do with the completion of the Thompson Byway around that section, of the southeast section of that. It was kind of provided for in that funding.
I didn't know if that was a designated, you had someone within the utilities that searches for grants, or just?
Primarily, in things like that, we do a lot of that kind of on our own, but when we have a big project such as the water plant, we work with RD, Rural Development, and Linda Luckett was there when we first started this. Of course, Mark Gibbons is there now. They are usually the ones that kind of keep us up on what, and the other thing that are experts in that, as you're probably, is the people who are in that business of designing those. They keep their ears to the ground pretty quick, because that's their bread and butter. They want people to be able to fund those projects that they have to design and engineer. And so they tend to know at least where to make the introduction at.
How many
Bob,
co-
go ahead.
Excuse me.
I did lie. I did have another question.
How many companies do you have that you bid gas from? Who do you bid it from?
Really none, and there are others, but we watch that through Insight and then through Constellation. Their markup, Insight usually says Constellation's markup's nothing. I mean, we watch like the Henry Hub futures. I get an email every day on that. Their markup's really very little, especially for the amount of expertise they provide us and the dependability. You know, there's been times over the years where people say, well, I want to locally provide you with some gas, and you know, they just don't have pipeline quality gas. You know, we ran into issues years ago. I don't know if you remember those days when you might buy gas from some field out here, and then all of a sudden people were calling them with their heater systems that were rusting out because of low quality gas. And so we get all our gas basically through the pipeline. And you know, there's some MMBTU quality features that, you know, we get from that. And so.
I did have one more question, Bob, I'm sorry. One thing we may want to explore together too, the mayor's been looking at Lincoln Trail as far as writing grants. I know sewers are crazy money to repair, not just to build, but the repair is huge. But generally, there's been a lot of government grants for to bring sewer system. Maybe something that the city
Well, you
put
talk
our
about
utilities on doing, on
the
getting
Blue
grants
Oval
for
area,
that.
I got to noticing, I think through Hardin County's website, that the city of Glendale, if you remember the base realignment and closure, BRAC, yeah, Glendale got like $16 million for their sewer facilities in BRAC.
That's like $1 million per person.
So, yeah, that's how sometimes, you know, I look at Blue Oval and I get to thinking, you know, the Commonwealth of Kentucky sat on that property for 35 years probably. That's been a long time, and it finally budded.
But I think that would be something we could work on too with,
Right.
I think what Mayor's done with, is going to do with Lincoln Trail, that we could
Right.
incur and work together, and maybe they could look at grants for.
And I commend him. He went to a Tennessee Valley Authority meeting not long ago that we were given, and he made the trip over for that.
I
Yeah,
promise
but-
that was my last question.
All right. I'm gonna
I
cut
just
you off.
want to thank you, Bob, for your commitment and your commissioner's commitment.
Well,
I
thank
think you
you.
do have Leitchfield first and foremost. You all live here, you have all your lives.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to see it all succeed.
Yeah.
And the employees, we owe you everything. I mean, just like Bob was talking about this new generation, we're all going to struggle, guys, with employees. If you find people like Darren that's dedicated like that, you pay him what he asks for. I mean, that's kind of the mindset you have now, is you pay your skilled labor. And because there's not going to be a lot of it out there. But really, thank you guys for what you do for
I
this
appreciate
community and
your kind words on
what,
that.
Thanks, Bob.
And I'd like to say too, Bob and Mr. Crawford, and the rest of everyone that's here with utilities. Of course, I grew up with utilities, so it's special to me. But I would suggest, if the chamber still does it, the leadership program, because they take you to the water plant, the sewer plant, and things like that, and get in depth. It's a good program, but even if, just as an individual to go. But like I said, I just wanted to say thank you to you as a commission, but to each one of the employees, because I know firsthand what's involved, the hours, the time. So I just want to say thank you, because I didn't ask a lot of questions, because I know pretty much how most of it works, but they're good questions, and I'm glad that you all did come, because I do think, you know, being able to communicate is a big thing. You know, knowing that we're here, if you have questions, and you're there if we have questions. So,
Thank you very much.
How would you grade the questions, Bob?
Huh?
How would you grade the questions?
You did an outstanding job, Mr.
Thank you.
You can tell you've been of counsel.
I couldn't resist.
Mr. Jones, Second by Mr. Bernard. Any other discussion? All in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
Do y'all have any questions for us?
Yeah, exactly. I'm in writing, though.
Ahead of time.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Christine, you have anything you want to come and talk to us about? You passed out some papers earlier, so come on forward.
Keith?
Does everybody know Christine, I guess?
Well, my name's Christina Cooper, and I'm the director of the Leitchfield Animal Shelter. And I'm just here to just kind of shine some light on this is just 1 month. This is the month of May. In the month of May, this is just dogs on the first page that I'm going to be reading off. As a stray at large, there was 43 in total. There was 11 surrenders, 1 arrest, which this totals to be 55 live intakes. This is just canines. For adoptions, there was 25 canine adoptions, 4 reclaims, there was 6 in-state rescues, and there was 3 out-of-state rescues. For felines, there was a total of 38 stray cats, and there was 17 that was surrendered or abandoned by owners, and this total was 55. For the adoption, there was 40 adopted cats, and then there was 3 in-state rescues. For as a total, as an overall, there was 65 adoptions, 12 rescues, 110 intakes in the month of May, and 4 reclaims. I just wanted to shine some light on the transparency of how many animals that we do deal with, and this just for the month of May. Yes, just for 1 month. No, it's not an average.
What's your average? What do you normally do?
Is this high or low?
This right here?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of average, yes. Spring is hit, so if your animals are not spayed or neutered, if they come in heat, it's bound to happen. But I can get actual average of each month, and I plan to come here every month, give you all. Yes.
But I didn't know what the average was, if that was normal that you do every month, and that's why you have your shelter like you are and your employees, or if it's high this month and next month it won't be, or I'm sure later on when birthing season comes in, it's gonna be
You're right.
a lot higher.
Yes, in the winter months, it does cut back a lot.
Right.
But with spay and neuter, when your animals are not fixed, they are.
We know you have a big impact.
Yes. Well, thank you for saying that. But as the new director of the Leitchfield Animal Shelter, I do plan on showing the transparency and showing you all what all comes into our shelter, because a lot of people do not know.
Right.
If you look on our shelter page, it does look like, there's a lot of animals that you all see quite often, but we have a lot of adoptions, and I'm thankful for that. But I wanted to show on the intakes, because people don't realize how spaying and neutering is so important. Because a lot of that is kittens, a lot of that is puppies. And that's county and city involved. And if you all want me to break it down and go into detail, I'll be more than happy to get that statistics for you all.
I think that would be great.
that's what
Before we
question
break
I
it down, that was what I was going to ask you. First of all, thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
And second of all, I think it would be helpful to do the county, city, because that way our, the county needs to know.
Yeah, I
Well,
understand.
don't the county give you $150 per animal?
It's $100, yes.
$100.
Mhm.
And how long has it been $100?
It has been like that since I started, and that's been 5 years.
Negotiate that.
Exactly.
I mean, if we're doing it all and they're giving us 150 and it's costing you 148,
Yeah,
I mean, it ought to be worth something.
I agree.
I agree. But I will say that with the county, they do help us a lot. They help us
With the
in a lot of
inmates and stuff, I think,
Well, they're supposed to
yeah.
have a shelter anyway.
yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah. I'm amazed that there's 40 adopted cats. They have issues.
Hey, you
No,
said
you're,
it.
you're the one with the issue.
I agree with you. I do. Especially when it comes to, I better not, I'm getting in trouble.
Yeah, you're the one with the issue.
No further.
But, I mean, I welcome you all to come down here, take a tour. And a lot of people don't realize what I do, what the employees do. I mean, if just looking at the shelter, a lot of people are like, oh, I'd love to pet and play with puppies and kittens all day. And it's not that. We don't just feed and water the animals down there. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that people don't see.
Right.
But if any of you all would like a tour or want to know anything, I'll be more than happy to go in detail and depth about anything that we do down there.
well, Tootie and I was on this council when we developed it how it is today.
Well, I
So-
appreciate you.
So we pretty well know as far as what's happening. Harold may be too, at that time, when we converted from what we had to what we
Yeah,
have today.
a long way.
And, yeah, a long way, an expensive way. A year for the animal shelter, and now we're $386,000 a year.
I've been looking at the budget.
So, I mean, that's how far we've come to make this work.
I will, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
I was just going to let you all know, when it comes to the vetting, that the vets, everything has increased, and it's all due, to COVID. COVID was a big problem. And when COVID had hit, there was times where vets couldn't even they had to do limited things because the gloves and some of the supplies would have to go to human health care.
Sure.
So that's why the prices went up, the price of living goes up. But I will say, with the animals that every single intake, they get the booster, they get dewormed, they get tested to make sure they're healthy to be adopted out.
Yeah, and when Denny asked for that, it would be good to get that. Just have a breakdown of what it costs when you get it, and then when it gets adopted out. What you spend to get there. If you got an
Oh,
I
I'll
mean-
get
I mean,
it.
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure we heard about it 4 or 5 years ago, but I just wondered how it compared to now
Yes.
on expense
Okay.
to get it that way. Thank you.
But if y'all have any questions, feel free to let me know, or like I said, if y'all just want to come down and say hello, and if you want to pet some cats, you can do that, or walk some dogs, feel free. And I encourage everyone to spay and neuter. But y'all have a good night, and thank you for listening.
Please keep us advised when t-shirts come in.
Is
The
it?
t-shirt.
Oh,
When you get t-shirts, let us know,
okay, will do.
especially the tie-dye.
All right, the tie-dye one. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
it is further down on our agenda, but we, while she's talking, just to kind of, if we wanted to branch out and talk about the contract some, that
Okay.
way. It may make it flow easier for Lori's minutes, I guess.
On the last page, they're under unfinished business. We had discussed this, Christina, and you and I have talked about it, being able to go ahead and contract with your guys' preferred provider. And I think everyone here is aware of why that decision was made, so.
Yes, sir.
And you're welcome to interject on that if you want to. I don't know how much you,
The most that I will say is that, I mean, what it comes down to is, when I had talked, is that here in town, they don't have emergency services, and that's one of our biggest biggest things, because if we get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning that there's been a dog that's been hit and it's, you know, on the verge of living or dying, hey, we get to act fast. So with that being said, the Litchfield Vet Clinic does not give us that service.
So is that all you're excluding from them?
Just the spay and
Just
neuter, or?
emergency services, the rest you'll go through?
So a lot of things, I'm fine with Leitchfield Vet Clinic, but what I was getting at is that if we don't have that service, when I had talked to Dr. Rowe, he said that if we do not contract with him using, you know, with the contract, that we wouldn't be able to use him for emergencies, because we wouldn't be a client anymore. And this is just for anybody that, who hasn't used him in the past, he's 100% cutting that out. And I don't blame him, he has a family and
So
whatnot.
we had 3 bids with the other one?
What is it?
We had 3 bids at that time. You presented this 3 bids, 3 veterinarians.
Yes,
So-
there was 3.
So since they won with the other one.
The other one,
Without the rest.
so the other one doesn't have an emergency either,
Gotcha.
and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But
So
like,
they're the only ones that have an emergency, other than E-Town Hospital,
yeah.
Animal Hospital.
Well, E-Town don't have it either. It's Louisville. So that's why we're,
So do all animal shelters go with this?
I am not sure.
I mean,
So, I mean,
they
a
have-
lot of shelters have, you know, they have vets there. So with Bowling Green, for instance, they have a clinic, which was Dr. Gray and Dr. Creek. You know, that's their clients for years and years and years. So yes, they will help
Yeah,
them.
we can't compete with Bowling Green.
Absolutely, yeah, you're right, it's
We
huge.
can't.
No, you're right. You're
So
right.
that's what I'm saying.
But-
There are other counties that surround us that have shelters. What do they do in emergency situations?
Well, see, Breckenridge, they go through,
Sure.
I can check with other shelters, I'm not for sure, but what I will say is that in the past, is that after our calls and medical surgery complications, when you do rescue, it's a lot of the times it's, hey, I need this done this day at this time. And with Dr. Rowe and his and the other vets, they are really flexible with scheduling. So, I mean, for instance,
Well,
if
I
it
must be
was,
thinking, I don't think that's an emergency.
no,
Just because you
no, I'm
know
just
that
talking about
may
other
happen.
services as well.
So how many emergencies do you have a month?
I mean, that's hard to just go by, because I mean,
Much?
sometimes it does happen. No, not one day. I can get data on that, but just from working five years at the shelter, we have had plenty of emergencies.
How many night emergencies do you
Night
have?
emergencies, well, it seems like it's always at night. And it's always around like 1 o'clock in the morning, or, we actually had an emergency maybe, it was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we had received a call around 8 o'clock at night, and it was a little Yorkie that had been hit, and it was completely paralyzed, and it was a life or death matter, and I took it to Hardinsburg to be seen, and.
So they have somebody 24/7 there?
So, yes, they have a line, and they take turns taking call. So I had called that vet, and he's like, all right, I'm on my way, meet you there, and he takes care of it from
So
there,
that-
and I meet him
Was that
there.
Yorkie a stray?
So it was potentially a stray, but we post everything publicly about everything we get, and we did find its owner. So that price wasn't on the city, which went late. Well, they would have to surrender it, and then we'd go from there.
You guys will continue to do some business with
Absolutely.
locally,
I don't have a
so-
problem with Dr. Ray.
Well, but as far as the
Or Dr.
contract
Brittany or
provides
anything like
mostly for
that. Mm-hmm.
the surgeries, right? Spay, neuter and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
speaking of it, like, there's been times where we can't provide a service, and then we'll go through him. I don't have an issue at all.
And from a legal standpoint, the contract does not bind us to, it basically is locking in prices but it does allow flexibility to use other providers.
I understand.
Yes.
Didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But he has helped us, I mean, many times, many times.
Anybody else got any questions for Christina?
And one last thing I will add in there is that during the past, I will say that he didn't have as many vets helping him as he does today.
Yes,
So-
you're correct.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes. But he has helped us many times.
Good. Well, we like to stay local.
Oh, right.
We've had
Amen.
certain
I have
Yeah.
one.
Anything, we like to stay local,
Yeah.
if we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Think we should go ahead and vote on that, Earlene, now? or come
Yes,
back
I
to
think
it?
that would make the flow easier for the minutes. And I
There's
think,
actually a resolution.
yes,
Eileen drew up.
there's a resolution to pass for you to sign a contract, so just need a motion and a second.
Motion and a second, okay. We'll drop back to that, then authorization for Mayor Miller to sign shelter veterinary contract.
I make the motion.
Motion by Clayton, entertain a second. Second by Tootie, all in favor? Thank you, guys. Thank you, Christina. Next item on the agenda is the Unstoppables proclamation. Just for your guys' information, the Unstoppables, or some of them are going to be involved in your ball program over there. They're a group that, special needs group, and they're doing some things locally that they're having a formal, I guess, 20s, I think it's
Dress up
20
formal.
20s themed, yeah. So I'm sure those young people will have a good time there. They were in here a couple of weeks ago, Lori, to get a picture and proclamation done. Great bunch of kids, and they were really looking forward to that day, talking about the program at the baseball park when it gets time for that. So we don't have a reading or anything, just need a motion and a second, and then all in favor, unless you guys have some questions.
I make a motion.
Motion by Clayton, do I have a second? Second by Gina, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Approval to continue the HRA with McGregor and paying half the deductible. Single plan will be $1,500 and family plan will be $3,000. And Lori
We
will-
typically do this with the insurance plan that you all approved at the last meeting, so that was my fault. I forgot to get that in there, but we typically do that all in one motion. And that's just, like you said, it's just the HRA through McGregor where we'll pay half of each one of the deductibles, up to half of it. It's not, if you don't use it, you don't use it, so. I just need a motion and a second to do that, so I can get the paperwork signed and sent back on it.
Motion by Terry, second by Billy, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is second and final reading of the fiscal year 22-23 amended budget. Ms. Sabrina.
An ordinance amending the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky annual budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government. Whereas City of Leitchfield, Kentucky has heretofore adopted its budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30, 2023 by ordinance enacted June 23, 2022. And whereas it is necessary to amend the said budget ordinance in order to more accurately reflect the revenues and expenditures of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky in certain budget categories. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky as follows. The sections 1 and 2 of the here and above described budget ordinance are amended to read as follows, with deleted portions being indicated by a single line drawn through them and added portions being indicated by a solid line drawn beneath them. Projected cash, June 30, 2022. Sorry. Projected cash at June 30, 2023. No, that's 2022, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. General Fund 2023, 9,990,575. Into 11,327,469. Utility Fund, 11,506,545. Amend to 11,382,916. Tourism Fund, from 1,391,587 to 1,774,105. Net profit returns, 480,000, amend to 665,000. Occupational taxes, 2,675,000 to 2,929,000. Property taxes, 761,500 to 795,600. Insurance license taxes, 980,000 to 1,052,000. Franchise taxes, 335,000 to 371,000. ABC application and regulatory fees, 250,500 to 261,200. Other licenses, 950 to 700. Restaurant taxes, 800,000 to 900,000 in the general fund, 800,000 to 900,000 in the tourism fund. Transfer restaurant taxes, negative 800,000 to negative 900,000. Hotel taxes, 9,000 stays the same, and tourism fund stays the same at 9,000. Transfer of hotel taxes stays the same at negative 9,000. Mineral severance income, 19,400 to 18,625. Rental income, 60,750 to 60,600. Other revenue, 105,867 to 141,197. Interest income, 20,020 to 20,025. Sale of property, 0 to 54,000. Grant income, general fund, 56,000 to 351,216. Tourism fund, 1,550 to 27,413. HB 413 base court revenue, 11,000 to 10,000. Incentive pay, 84,000 to 82,900. IDC contributions, 80,000, stays the same. Volunteer fire runs, 2,000 to 500. Grayson County fire dues, 136,000 to 145,500. State aid fire department stays, oh, no, it doesn't, 11,000 to 11,500. Planning and zoning permits, 4,500 to 5,750. Road aid stays the same at 144,000. Garbage pickup fees, 1,450,000 to 1,500,000. Solid waste dumping fees, 775,000 to 995,000. Recycling fees stays the same at 5,000. Animal shelter, animal control income, 96,250 to 85,350. Parks income, 229,100 to 8,785. Recreational income, 81,500 to 104,045. And utility fund, water sales, 2,256,150. Sewer sales, 1,820,300 to 1,888,150. Gas sales, 3,968,100 to 3,444,250. Grant income, 1,562,500 to 1,457,575. In the tourism fund, tourism other income, 7,000 to 11,610. Tourism aquatic center revenue from 194,500 to 229,500. Total current year revenue, general fund, 8,854,337 to 9,898,493. Utility fund, 9,541,450 to 9,046,125. Tourism fund, 1,012,050 to 1,177,523. Total revenue and carry forward, general fund, 18,844,912 to 21,225,962. Utility fund, 21,047,995 to 20,429,041. Tourism fund, 2,403,637 to 2,951,628. General expenditures, general and administration, 3,044,702 to 2,268,825 in the general fund. Alcohol beverage control, 365,800 to 368,550. Industrial development, 130,550 to 135,550. Police department, 1,890,850 to 1,897,165. Fire department, 949,000 $943,225 to $943,525. Planning and zoning, $187,000 to $162,650. Public Works Department, $3,499,000 to $3,238,750. Animal Shelter, Animal Control, $443,000 to $436,325. Parks and Recreation, $1,012,900 to $835,635. In the Utility Fund, Water, $3,121,785 to $3,360,700. Sewer, $2,218,400 to $2,284,750. Gas, $3,544,225 to $3,050,875. Capital improvements, $2,501,200 to $1,537,850. And the Tourism Fund, Tourism, $693,141 to $619,329. Tourism Aquatic Center, $646,350 to $670,450. Total current year expenses, General Fund, $11,523,027 to $10,287,775. Utility Fund, $11,385,610 to $10,242,175. Tourism Fund, $1,339,491 to $1,289,779. Current year net income or loss, General Fund, loss of $2,668,690 to a loss of $389,282. Utility Fund, loss of $1,844,160 to a loss of $1,196,050. Tourism Fund, loss of $327,441 to a loss of $112,256. Adjustment for non-cash budget items, depreciation, Utility Fund, $1,425,000 to $1,481,000. Projected ending cash balance with carry forward, General Fund, $7,321,885 to $10,938,187. Utility Fund, $11,087,385 to $11,667,866. Tourism Fund, $1,064,146 to $1,661,849. Adopted this 5th day of June 2023 after first being read on the 31st day of May 2023.
Is your mic on?
Yes.
We can just barely hear you.
Oh, gosh, I'll talk louder the next time. Don't ask me to repeat it, please. It's on your paper.
I got a question on that. On the parks income up here, why is that such a difference from last year to this year?
Grants. We had, last year we had, budgeted for some grant income, but the expenses are also less because we didn't get that grant income that we were budgeting for. So we took the income out, we also took the expense out for whatever grants we were expecting to get.
Okay.
Anyone else have any? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the second and final reading of the 22-23 amended budget.
So moved, Mayor.
I'll second.
First by Billy, second by Gina, all in favor?
We'll have to do a roll call.
Oh, roll
And then a roll call.
Denny?
Aye.
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 Okay, second and final reading of ordinance relating to regulatory license fee for sale of alcohol beverages.
Okay. I'm trying to move this closer. An ordinance establishing the regulatory license fee for the sale of alcoholic beverages in the city of Leitchfield, Kentucky, whereas the city of Leitchfield, Kentucky hereinafter city is authorized to impose a regulatory license fee on the sale of alcoholic beverages of each establishment therein licensed to sell alcohol beverages pursuant to KRS 243.075 in the city of Leitchfield ordinance number 2820180.16, section 1, ordinance number 20180. 8-17, Section 1, Article 4, and whereas the city has reviewed the regulatory license fee revenues from the prior fiscal year as well as expenditures related to the additional policing, regulatory, and administrative expenses related to the sale of alcoholic beverages in the city, with a copy of the income statement being attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, and whereas the city finds that the regulatory license fees are reasonably estimated to somewhat reimburse the city for the additional policing, regulatory, and administrative expenses related to the sale of alcoholic beverages in the city. Now therefore ordained by the City Council of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, the regulatory license fee shall be 6% of gross sales of all alcoholic beverages sold by retail sales of packaged distilled spirits and wine, and the retail sales of packaged malt beverages. Section 2, if any section, subsection, paragraph, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason declared illegal, unconstitutional, or otherwise invalid, such declaration shall not affect the remaining portions hereof. Section 3, if any portion of this ordinance is in conflict with provisions of the existing ordinance or law, to the City Council of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky, that the provision of this ordinance shall govern, and such provisions in existing ordinance or laws in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded. This ordinance is in effect upon final reading and publication, passed by the City Council of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky at the first reading, May 31st day of May 2023, passed by the City Council of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky at the second reading, on the 5th day of June 2023.
Do you want to have any questions for Sabrina on? I'll entertain a motion to accept the reading.
So moved.
Tootie, second by Clayton, all in favor? Or a roll call, let's go back. Write it down for me, Lori, and I still can't. Denny?
Aye.
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 Billy? Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, second and final reading of the fiscal year 23-24 proposed budget.
That's me again. Okay. An ordinance adopting the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky annual budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government. Whereas an annual budget proposal and message has been prepared and delivered to the City Council of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024 by the mayor of the city, and whereas the City Council has reviewed the said budget proposal and budget message and made all modifications which were deemed appropriate. Now therefore be ordained by the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky follows that the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024 is hereby adopted as follows. Projected cash at June 30, 2023, general fund, $10,938,187. Utility fund, $11,667,866. Tourism fund, $1,661,849. Net profit return, $665,000. Occupational taxes, $2,929,000. Property taxes, $795,600. Assistance taxes, $1,052,000. Franchise taxes, $371,000. ABC application regulatory fees, $261,000. Other licenses, $700. Restaurant taxes, general fund, $900,000. Tourism fund, $900,000. Transfer of restaurant taxes, general fund, negative $900,000. Hotel taxes, general fund, $9,000. Tourism fund, $9,000. Transfer of hotel taxes, general fund, negative $9,000. Mineral severance income, $18,625. Rental income, $60,650. Other revenue, $114,442. Interest income, $16,025. Sale of property, $10,000. Grant income, general fund, $804,300. Tourism fund, $1,550. HB 413 base court revenue, general fund, $10,000. Incentive pay, $97,200. IDC contributions, $80,000. Volunteer fire runs, $1,000. Grayson County fire dues, $145,500. State aid fire department, $11,500. Planning and zoning permits, $4,500. Municipal road aid, $140,980. Property pickup fees, $1,500,000. Solid waste dumping fees, $995,000. Recycling fees, $5,000. Animal shelter, animal control revenue, $91,250. Parks and recreational income, $10,119,125. Water sales in the utility fund, $2,427,050. Sewer sales, $1,862,550. Gas sales, $3,692,400. Grant income, $661,200. Tourism, other income, $12,300. Tourism center revenue, $229,500. Total current year revenue, $20,299,397 in the general fund. Utility fund, $8,643,200. Tourism fund, $1,152,350. Total revenue and carry forward. General fund, $31,237,584. Utility fund, $20,311,066. Tourism fund, $2,814,199. Expenditures, the general fund, general and admin, $3,337,200. Alcohol beverage control, $428,505. Industrial development, $133,300. Police department, $2,136,970. Fire department, $933,230. Planning and zoning, $236,450. Public works department, $3,765,240. Animal shelter, animal control, $435,810. Parks and recreation, $11,078,635. In the utility fund, water, $3,408,050. Sewer, $2,445,750. Gas, $2,930,875. Capital improvements, $2,724,900. Tourism in the tourism fund, $1,028,429. Tourism aquatic center, $797,650. Total current year expenses, general fund, $22,485,340. Utility fund, $11,509,575. Tourism fund, $1,826,079. Current year net income or loss. General fund, loss of $2,185,943. Utility fund, loss of $2,866,375. Tourism fund, loss of $673,729. Adjustment for non-cash budget items, depreciation. Utility fund, $1,485,000. Projected ending cash balance with carry forward, general fund, $8,752,244. Utility fund, $10,286,491. Tourism fund, $988,120. Oh, wait, I got more. That this ordinance shall be in effect as of July 1, 2023, and remain in effect unless sooner amended until June 30, 2024, up to this 5th day of June 2023, after first hearing read on the 31st day of May 2023.
Any questions for Sabrina on that reading? Not, I'll entertain a motion to accept it.
I make a motion.
Motion by Clayton.
Second.
Second by Tootie. All in favor? We'll roll call. Denny?
Before we vote, I want to thank Sabrina again and all department heads and Lori, especially Sabrina, for all her hard work and all the extra stuff we put you through on the committee. We ask for all these extra reports, and you're great about getting to us, and I wanted to thank you. I
Well,
mean it before we voted. And
I
vote.
want to say thank you to the budget committee and the extra members that came, the extra council members that came. It's a long process, and I was happy to get the reports ready. Denny come up with some really good ideas of some reports to get together, and for future budget committees, I've got some really good reports, and this is the only time he's going to get credit for these reports. After this right here, I'm going to take credit for every one of these reports that you come up with. So just for the record, Denny did come up with some good ideas on some reports for some information for the budget committee. So I appreciate the budget committee. You all were really easy to work with, and I appreciate all the department heads for getting me all the information. I'm pretty demanding at this time of the year, so I appreciate everybody for being patient with me on that. Thank you all.
With that, I vote aye.
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 Terry?
Aye.
Bill? Thank you, guys. Let me back up here just a second. When we did visitor, Tammy, do you have anything you want to bring? I'm sorry that Chip just wouldn't.
No, I had to run out. I had an emergency at the Aquatic Center I had to take care of. The Challenge League, we decided to extend it out to, because we were receiving people that were unable to get their registration forms in, so we decided to extend it till Wednesday. Christy is in charge of that, and she'll be back on Wednesday due to a death in her family. She's taken time off. We've had great response to it. People are really excited, and families are excited. The whole goal of this, though, is getting students involved to be the buddies for the kids in the Challenger League. That is what Little League wants. They want these other kids to be part of the program versus it being an adult. So that's what we're trying to encourage. Jody's going to talk to the baseball team, and I hope to talk to the softball coach to see if we can get them involved also. First week at LAC, I think, was a record-breaker week. We have an amazing staff, I will say that. Appreciate every one of them. The guards are doing great. We have 27 guards and 21 employees in the concession admissions. They said we were busy constantly every day, and this is the first year I haven't really had to worry about them because they seem very professional in handling it. Yeah, that echoes. Yes. Yeah, I think it was a record-breaking week. This is the first day that they said it was actually slow, and I thought it was quite crowded, but they said it was very slow. So other than that, I think we're doing well, and the Fiddling Festival's coming up, so we need vendors. Those are coming in slowly, and other than that, that's all I have, I believe. Anybody have any questions on anything?
I've got a couple, surprisingly. How's the cups working out on the drinks at the concession stand?
It actually is a lot better. I think that having the bibs there and using the fountain drinks is a lot easier because we're not having to constantly order cans of pop and storing them. But I think it's a better turnover.
Sure, your profit margin goes up, but I was just curious on how
We tried to do it
how it
years
worked.
ago, and get
Yeah.
consistency on doing it.
Yeah.
All of ours.
It's really amazing, and it goes farther. We make more money off it than we would off a can of soda. So we don't have to charge our residents more money for the drinks like we would have for a can.
I was just curious. I was at the ball game, and I was just curious how it working out overall. Thanks for the walking track signs. I saw them the other morning. And anything about the directions to the ballpark? The people-
That is being handled by, I talked to the tourism, or the guy who is, Nick Beeler, on him putting up signs, because I feel since it is his event that he is hosting, that he should put up signs to direct traffic to the right location. So I have talked to him about it, but I don't think he's followed through.
Yeah, that would be. But I did see the walking track signs, as in stay off.
Stay off the track.
Jen and I appreciate that.
And we do have an issue at the down at the Bevel Park, people leaving fishing line, lures and everything on the parking lot and on the grounds. We're hoping that maybe we can eliminate that because a duck got seriously injured. It was taken to I think the Park County recovery, I don't know what it's called, but rehabilitation center. And then someone had told me that their dog had actually stepped on a hook also. So anybody listening, please make sure that you keep it cleaned up down there. Sometimes fishing line's hard to see.
Sounds like a potential for a new ordinance.
Yes, it does.
Thanks, Tammy. Okay, next on the agenda, resolution to allow mayor to execute the 2023-2024 municipal road aid contract in the amount of $145,340.46. Lori?
And that is the resolution that we ended up having to rescind because we had to wait till we had the public comment. And keep in mind that you all did decide to stay in the emergency fund, and I think that takes $3,000 out of that, so. But our contract does state it's for that much, but it will be less than that because we continue to participate in emergency part of it. We just need a first and second, all in favor, so I can get that back to them.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Clayton, take a second.
I'll second.
Second by Gina, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Second and final reading of the ordinance relating to the rezoning request RZ-23-118 WRECC property located at 107 Electric Avenue from R2 to C1. Shirley?
I think Tyler was here the last time to take any questions about it, so, and Tyler's not here tonight, so I'm gonna be reading on his behalf. An ordinance amending and adopting an amended zoning map entitled Zoning Map Leitchfield, Kentucky by changing the district classification of the property located in Leitchfield, Kentucky is hereinafter described from R-2
single-family, medium-density to C-1 highway commercial. Whereas Litchfield Planning Commission of Litchfield, Kentucky on May 8th, 2023 held a public hearing on application number RZ-23-118. The property is currently owned by Warren Rural Electric Cooperative Corporation is designated as property having a PVA number 092-03-00-128. Be more particular described in Deed Book 340, page 40, Deed Book 340, page 44, and Deed Book 382, page 1, records of the Grayson County Clerk's Office, and being located at 107 Electric Avenue, Litchfield, Kentucky. The request asks for a change from R-2, single-family, medium-density to C-1 highway commercial. And whereas City Council members conducted a review of the record and evidence presented before the Litchfield Planning Commission, and its recommendation is that the zoning map amendment be approved as affects this property. Its recommendation is attached and incorporated herein by reference. And now therefore be it ordained by the City of Litchfield, Kentucky as follows. Boundaries of the district as shown on district map entitled Zoning Map, Litchfield, Kentucky, being same is hereby amended for reasons adopted, all of which is made a part hereof, is fully set out herein, including the rezoning request from the Planning Commission dated 5/10/2023 to the Litchfield City Council. Such property is described as follows: property description, or refer to property description, PVA number 092-03-00-128, Deed Book 340, page 40, Deed Book 340, page 44, and Deed Book 382, page 1, records of the Grayson County Clerk's Office, and being located at 107 Electric Avenue, Litchfield, Kentucky 42754, now Zone C-1 Highway Commercial. After the adoption of this ordinance shall be in full force and effect following publication as required by law. This ordinance or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith or repealed to the extent such conflict given a second reading and duly enacted by the legislative body of the City of Litchfield, Kentucky on the 5th day of June 2023, after being first read on the 15th day of May 2023.
Okay.
And this is the second reading, so we'll need
Okay.
a roll call vote.
Okay. Just for y'all's information, the reason they did that, the property that they bought in two different parcels there were houses on there. So once they realized that it hadn't been zoned correctly, that's when they filed to request zone correctness. What's the reason for the change? I entertain a motion to accept the reading.
So moved.
Motion by Tootie, second by Clayton. Roll call. Denny.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Second and final reading of the ordinance relating to rezoning request RZ-23-116 for property located at the southwest intersection of Grayson Springs Road and William Thomason Byway. Rezone from R-2 to C-1.
That should be RZ 23-117, but it is correct on the ordinance part.
Okay.
On this one that's going to be
Yes, it's correct on this. It
Oh,
was just
okay.
wrong on my cover sheet.
Oh, okay, gotcha, okay. An ordinance amending and adopting an amended zoning map entitled Zoning Map, Litchfield, Kentucky by changing the district classification of the property located in Litchfield, Kentucky is hereinafter described from R-2 single-family medium density to C-1 highway commercial. Whereas the Litchfield Planning Commission of Litchfield, Kentucky on May 8, 2023 had a public hearing on application number RZ-23-117. This property is currently owned by S&S Rentals and Sales, Steve Ashley, member manager, and designated as property having a PVA number 093-00-00-008. Being more particularly described in Deed Book 488, page 483, records of the Grayson County Clerk's Office, and being located at the SW intersection of Grayson Springs Road and William Thompson Byway, Litchfield, Kentucky. The request asks for a change from R-2 single-family medium density to C-1 highway commercial. And whereas City Council members conducted a review of the record and evidence presented before the Litchfield Planning Commission, and its recommendation is that the zoning map amendment be approved as affects this property. Its recommendation is attached and incorporated herein by reference, and now therefore be it ordained by the City of Litchfield, Kentucky as follows. Boundaries of the district as shown on district map entitled Zoning Map, Litchfield, Kentucky, being same is hereby amended for reasons adopted, all of which is made a part hereof, is fully set out herein, including the rezoning request from the Planning Commission dated 5/10/2023 to the Litchfield City Council, so the property is described as follows. Property description, refer to property description, PVA number 093-00-00-008 of Deed Book 488, page 483, records of the Grayson County Clerk's Office, and being located at the SW intersection of Grayson Springs Road and William Thompson Byway, Litchfield, Kentucky 42754, now zone C-1, highway commercial. After the adoption of this ordinance shall be in full force and effect following publication as required by law. This ordinance or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are repealed to the extent of such conflict, given a second reading and duly enacted by the legislative body of the city of Litchfield, Kentucky on the 5th day of June 2023, after being first read on the 15th day of May 2023.
I'll accept a motion to accept the second and final reading.
So moved.
Motion by Billy, second by Terry. All in favor? Aye. Roll call, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Danny.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys. We'll get the hang of this about 3.5 years from now.
I'd like to be first every now
All right. Let me find some more roll calls, baby. All right, second draft of ordinance with additional requirements of building permit holders.
I will have that on at the next meeting. I have hopes that I would have that completed, but I don't.
Okay, so we'll continue that at the next meeting. Fire hydrant ordinance, maintenance. Earlene?
I think this was brought up during budget meetings, I believe, about the fire hydrant. And so the two different, I don't think you have these in front of you, but basically there are two ordinances. One was passed in 77, the other in 76. And I think looking back, what has happened is it was initially passed in 76, and then there were changes with the 77 ordinance. And I think from reading of the ordinances, I think the 77 was attempting to amend the 76. So we do a couple things. We could just, we could basically amend what we have on the books, or we can start fresh. I'm open to whatever ideas the council has, and I can draft whatever. But there are conflicts between the two ordinances. It's not very clear. The pricing, for example, and this is just one example, well, you don't have them in front of you, and I can email these out to everyone, but the fee schedules are different. My suggestion is to talk to the fire department and get on the same track with them and see what their suggestions are as well. But there's several conflicts between the two ordinances. I think it does need to be addressed and changed, but I think it's up to the council to decide how you want to do that. So I'll draft however you see.
And I think we'll have to get with the utility commission also.
Yes.
Because the
I
way
thought
that
we
ordinance
should have
reads.
asked them while they were here. I didn't think about that, but it's kind of interesting, the ordinances, if you have your ordinance that Lori provided for us. It's 3718, and that's related to the fire and the fire department. It's interesting, in the fire department, it says that the utility commission is responsible for maintenance of the fire hydrants. And then under the utility commission, at 6322, it says that the fire department is responsible for the maintenance of the hydrants.
I was thinking about that earlier, and I think maybe there's two different areas of maintenance that they're speaking of there. I think the mechanical maintenance of our hydrant, fall on utilities, and the painting, testing of fire hydrants.
You might have something to do with your ISO rating.
It does mention the evaluation, the fire department does do the evaluation. It's in
It's
the
probably why the fire department started maintaining the color coding, because they got to flow them to see how much they're putting out anyway.
Yes.
So I know that's a requirement on the ISO report.
But I think it'd be a good idea to probably, both of them need to be reworked.
Yes,
and come up
different
with one.
language,
Yeah.
explaining what it is, and I have talked to Tim also about ordering things.
And I'm not sure the fire department have the expertise to really, to repair the fire hydrants. I mean, I think that would.
No, well, utilities is, if we had a problem, utilities is always taken care of. Yeah,
Which-
they
Just put
They
it,
have somebody, I guess, that they call that that does
Yeah, I
fire
think they
hydrants.
sub it out, I think.
Yeah,
Just clarify that in the ordinances, make,
They typically just flow test them, right, Billy, the fire
the
department?
fire department flow testing, yeah, to get their PSI off of them.
So the typical maintenance, like the painting, is that some utilities is always traditionally done? And mechanical?
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
And mechanical, okay.
You said they subbed that out, right? The
Yes,
ma-
it's
mechanical
what I can
maintenance on-
remember when Kim was the utilities director or whatever. Yeah, they had a company that come in here, because I think we maybe broke off one or had one that was bad behind the firehouse, and so they come in and replaced it. And Robin can tell you a little bit about it.
I was thinking they replaced their own now, but I might be wrong.
They do it themselves now.
Do that now.
And then the pricing, on the maintenance, testing, and repair, under, the 76 ordinance, it's $25 per hydrant, compensation to pay to the fire department, and then in the 77 ordinance, it states the fee shall be $2,500. So, I think we've got two variants in price, so if the council wants to do some research and bring it back at another meeting, or however you want to approach it, so, okay. Yeah, inflation, this is in the 70s, so it needs to be updated, so.
You guys have any ideas on that? Is it something we want to back up and maybe get with all those involved, utilities and fire department? And
Yeah, I
hash
think it just
something out?
needs to be a joint effort to get the required information before I draft anything, because I'll sit down on my computer and know what to draft. So, yeah,
On their side of the table, so whoever's on the fire department committee or whatever.
Yeah.
would Meet with utilities and you, and
yeah,
that's how I would go about it.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I suggest, so.
Okay. You got questions for Erling on that subject? Danny?
I'm good. What you pointing the finger at me for?
Ordinance related to new commission board appointments, adding a question and answer section for meeting prior to the appointment.
One I did in drafting this, you'll see there's two in your packet. The first one does not contain the clause referring to excluding members or commissioners who are already serving. The second draft, it has a clause for individuals who are already appointed, who are going to be appointed to a new term. So when I sat down to draft this, that was just a question that come up. So I can do the first reading of either or tonight, or if you want me to go back and work on this more, I can. Or if anybody has any other issues they want to bring up at this first reading.
If it's personnel matters, I think it ought to be an executive session if we're going to interview. You don't interview in front of the world for a job interview, okay? And technically, you're interviewing in front of the world when you get on YouTube. So I don't think that's fair, and I think we struggle with getting candidates already to want to help the community out or just provide their service. But I would suggest we add, if it's legal wise, to add it to to interview them in an executive session. I don't know why. I would think that would be a personnel matter because everybody's getting paid.
I think that's something that could fall under the exception. It's just you as a council if you want to make that requirement or not, so.
I think that would be wise. I'm with Billy. I think most people would rather answer questions like that maybe in closed session than.
I can add just a simple clause. Well, first of all, do you want to make it a requirement for all appointments, whether it's a new term or a new?
I like Plan B you have rather than Plan A.
Okay, all right, so.
That's my personal opinion.
Your opinion is what, Billy?
The second reading, the second
page.
Or she had, you know,
All members,
No, the second one excludes.
seconds excludes members that are seated now,
Already.
as far as coming before us, and it's our decision anyway.
yeah, mine's the other way, as far as the paper, but
I would suggest maybe taking a quick vote, so that way I'll know which one to read.
Well-
Or if you want to, it's,
do you even consider that a major, I mean, you can still do a first reading as long as it's not a major change, and that's, I don't know, sure that would be a major change or not.
well,
but-
my stance on a first reading, unless it's a typographical, then going to a second reading, you're gonna have to have the same first and second reading unless it's a typo or something. My policy is you don't make change, and I mean, I'm just giving legal advice to the council, but I suggest you stick to that same reading in a first and second reading. My suggestion is to do another draft, but in terms of, you can't change other than just typographical, not content. We can differ.
I may have a different opinion on that, but that's,
Yeah.
that's fine. But, yeah. I don't have strong feelings on one way or other. If the person's already on, you kind of have a feel of where they stand, so I don't really have a strong feeling on that. And I think too, as far as the executive session, I think that's fine. I'm not sure we even need to put that in the, ordinance. I mean, we determine.
Well, yeah, anybody can make a motion to,
Yeah.
to go into executive session. So it's your all's call. I'm just,
Well, you're limited on your executive session items,
you are.
so
You are. So, if you want to go into executive session, somebody would just need to make the motion. But it's up to you. If you want to make it part of the ordinance, just somebody propose it, and make a vote on it.
I just think it's a better seller to me that we have that wordage in there as far as,
Terry, you got a feeling on that?
I agree with Billy.
And I would,
Yeah, I think if they're already on there, then they shouldn't have to be answering
Come
a bunch
back
of
from us,
questions.
right? Clayton, you got a feeling?
No, that's same.
Gina?
I think that if they're on there, and there's nothing to say that if they are on there and at some point we have a question, we could ask them. I mean, that's,
So do we want to get Arlene to go ahead with the version that if they are already on a commission?
I'll make that motion if that's what you need, or if you need whatever you need from
yeah,
us.
go ahead and take a vote of what exactly I'm reading. And that way everybody's on the same page, and that way for Lori's minutes and everything, everybody's on the same
I
page.
think your second proposal with the adage of executive session during interviews or closed session, ever how you want to word it,
Okay.
and I'll make the motion or vote yay, whatever you want.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. And again, this is a first reading, so it won't be voted on tonight. It would be voted on at our next meeting. An ordinance establishing hearing procedures prior to appointment of board and commission members. Whereas the city of Leitchfield, Kentucky has established various boards and commissions as part of the operational structure of the city, and whereas some boards and commissions are comprised of members and/or commissioners whom are appointed by the mayor and then approved by the Leitchfield City Council, and whereas to allow the council an opportunity to learn additional information and have an opportunity to be informed on the qualifications of said appointments, a hearing procedure shall be established prior to said appointments. Now therefore be it ordained by the city of Leitchfield, Kentucky as follows: prior to the appointment of a member to any board or commission of the city of Litchfield, which requires appointment by the mayor of Litchfield and approval by the city council, said recommended appointee shall appear before the city council of Litchfield at a regular, scheduled, or special called meeting to allow an opportunity to hold a hearing regarding the appointee. The hearing shall allow members of the city council an opportunity to examine the qualifications of the appointee, discuss with the appointee the requirements of the position, and ask questions of the appointee. This hearing requirement shall only refer to newly appointed members and commissioners Those members or commissioners being reappointed to a new term shall not be required to attend a meeting of the City Council of Litchfield, Kentucky. Said hearing shall take place in executive session. And we'll vote on it at the next meeting.
Right.
Okay, approval of the April 2023 financial statement. I think we've all had a chance to go look at those. If there are any questions at this time, we'll entertain them. If there aren't any questions,
I'll make a motion.
motion by Clayton,
I'll second.
second by Tootie, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Update on pending litigation. Earlene?
Yes, I sent out an email of the judgment that was tendered by our circuit judge, Bruce Butler, on, the judgment was entered on 5/16/23, and the judgment did dismiss the claims by RMI. This was basically a successful motion for the city for our motion for summary judgment, so all claims have been dismissed at this time. And if anybody has any questions about the status or the procedures, you can, let me know now, or if you want to talk to my office or anything, just let me know. But everyone should have received in their email the copy of the judgment.
And there's a 30-day,
There is a 30-day appeal period, so that time, lawyers aren't great at math, but I think that should be June 15th, right? Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Any discussions or other questions to Earlene concerning that? Okay, unfinished business, personnel policy amendments for substance abuse. And
You should have received, I think Lori had printed copies. We had discussed this prior, and there were some additional add-ons and changes the council, I believe, had wanted. I had added those in, so if those are to the council's liking, we could take a vote to approve that. It would be contingent on approval with utilities, because we do share our personnel manual with utilities, so for them to participate in the program, it would have to be approved by them also. So I would suggest a vote contingent on approval by utilities. If it's not approved there, we could come back and say this would only apply for, but the personnel policy currently encompasses utilities and City of Litchfield.
any questions for anybody on the status of this? I'll entertain a motion to accept it. Clayton? Second? Tootie? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Okay, unfinished business. Hey, Billy.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you
No, I'm good. I'm good, Mayor.
go. All right. Terry?
No.
Tootie? Clayton?
Nate?
Jean? Andy?
Oh, yeah. What's the latest on the Wi-Fi? How is that working now, as far as that part?
We're on the list to be installed. Met with the guy over there, Tammy and I did, what, week ago? Week and a half, something like that. So it's gonna cost around $5,000 to outfit both the upper and lower park, softball and baseball with Wi-Fi. That will allow them to be able to monitor their cameras. It will actually be an open source for people attending games there that they can use. It will allow them to also take credit card payments.
Yeah.
You know, with a lot, Tammy said a lot of their weekend tournaments and stuff, people, so
I think eventually it'll pay for itself.
I think it will with
Them
them
do that.
being able to use credit cards like that.
The other thing, Mayor, would say citizens be able to use it? Say you got
It's-
homework, could they go over to the park and
Sure.
and use it, that would be great.
Yeah.
Great thing.
At both ballparks, so that anybody surrounding in the ball fields could use it. So if we have tournaments, they could actually utilize it with their tablets or whatever, or even on their phone.
Or sitting in the parking lots, right?
You get 300 people over there, can all of them access it?
It'll drag it down.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Well-
You're gonna be limited on your unlimited.
It will, it's, in some ways, but they run fiber all the way in, which nobody else does. Comcast, Windstream, I think, run fiber up to the point to come into the house, but then they run cable into the house. So
Right.
this will be fiber all the way in, so it should perform a little better. I know Center on Main, changed over to them a few months ago, and they've been tickled to death, so. And I think the aquatic center's on pace to be hooked up.
Easier. At the ballparks, they're going to have antennas outside, or whatever they call them, little kiosk things on the outside of the ballpark, so that they can utilize also at Bevel Park and all the way through the ballpark and at Veterans Memorial. However, at the Aquatic Center, he tested it, and he was able to get enough power on the deck where we don't have to do the external at the Aquatic Center, so it's going to be
Okay.
cheaper to hook it up there than it is at the ballparks.
Right.
But we just
So
didn't.
you're saying a booster on it? I couldn't really.
There's going to be boosters that will be, he had pointed out, the only field at softball that you won't be able to get it is B field. It might be a little sketchy over there, but he said on A field and C field, you shouldn't have any issue with it. Way the baseball's set up, you'll be able to get it in all 4 fields.
As long as they can keep line of sight, he said.
Yeah.
So,
So there'll be an internal one for the registers and stuff like that, and then there'll be external for around the ballpark area. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, oh, it makes sense, but it won't reach the aquatic center.
No. No, you'll have to have another one at the Aquatic Center. So right now, we're with
Is
Comcast.
that another $5,000 or is that?
No, no, no. No, that's minimal. It's just like switching out your service. That's all it is at the Aquatic Center. So since we already have internet there and we're going to run it through, he said it's very minimal compared to the ballparks.
yeah, they've got, I went and looked, they've got extra pipe run over toward so they'll be able to fish it through
Yeah.
there.
You know,
I'd say sometime, he said in the next week and a half or so ago, he said sometime in the next month and a half, 2 months, they should have it. They'd coordinate it with Warren to pull the wire, and then they come from that over to the buildings, so.
And I think that being able to do that and be able to take credit cards and debit cards at the ballparks would be a huge difference. We've been using the Cloverport iPads at the Aquatic Center, and I've noticed our sales have gone up a lot more. And plus, our employees are not having to handle anybody's credit cards, so less mistakes on our part.
I think people will appreciate it too, since they'll be able to flash those cards instead of carrying cash with them.
Since
I never
nobody
have
carries cash
I never have any
anymore.
cash. Okay. Sabrina, do you have any unfinished business?
No, it's unfinished, no.
Darlene?
On the personnel policy, I know that, I think the personnel committee had been working hard on the pay scales. So I think as soon as we can kind of move past that project, I'd like to take up that personnel policy. So I think we kind of missed each other, and I need to set up an appointment time to talk to Terry on it. But if anybody else has anything they want to discuss on it or any ideas, I know the personnel committee is probably going to spearhead that, but if anybody else has any suggestions or anything, I know I'd like to be involved in the process when it comes to drafting it. So just, whenever personnel meets again, I may come and start to talk about that, so.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Wesley, unfinished? David? No. Terry, action? It's down the road, yeah. As soon as we get that grant.
where you live, sir?
Next item is new business. One thing that I did, Lori talked to me today, and I penciled in, we have 2 reappointments for the Tourism Commission. Commissioner Miller's up for reappointment, Andy Miller's for reappointment. They're both pretty heavily involved in the tourism aspect of things. So I would like to reappoint those people if everybody's in favor of that, so.
We need to do them individually.
No, we can do them together. Their new appointment will start 7/1.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Reappoint.
Motion by Billy, seconded by Clayton, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Any new business, Billy?
That's not, I think they said March of next year.
Oh, I thought it said.
Just takes a long time.
Painting's going good?
Yeah, I think we're down to just within a couple of hundred now. And then once we get those done, then we'll start working on the businesses that have don't have dumpsters. And once we get them,
So you've given out some to businesses?
Not yet.
Not yet? Good.
We're waiting to get all the residential first.
A couple of things about these small businesses that have a dumpster and they don't really need a dumpster, converting to a couple cans, since their cans are so big. And so, I mean, I don't know how that would help them, or even if since they're listed as a business, that we can adjust that way.
Right. And depending on the amount of garbage they have, if they have very minimal, then, the cans would be fine. And, so most of them have a dumpster request.
Comply with a business rate, right?
Didn't we do the one for, House of Worship and small businesses?
We did
Yeah.
churches.
But
Yeah,
I think
we-
it includes small businesses under
It,
so much.
it did.
not-
It did small businesses and churches.
So they might fall under that, and if they don't have very much.
Was it limited on poundage, I guess, or how much material?
There was a stipulation.
There was
in
something in the
there.
ordinance that
Less
specified.
than 2 square yards or something like that. I can't remember.
Because some of them are thinking if they put regular garbage, right, and then added a can for $5 a month, they're saving $10 or $15 by doing that.
That's what I do, so I'm a small business.
There may
Been
be
using
something
it.
like that too.
So do the people that have a dumpster now, do they get a can?
No.
So they don't. That's all I have.
Okay. Terry, new business? No, sir. Clay?
No, sir.
Gina? Denny?
Are you responsible for White Rock at the Veterans Park?
No, I have not.
Well, who? Tammy? The White Rock at the Veterans Park?
Wait,
Yeah,
wait a minute, make sure he likes it first, Tammy.
I like it. It really looks good.
I left that up to the Legion. They chose all the plants and everything, because with the heavy freeze that we had this year, we lost a lot of shrubbery. So, they hired somebody that, had worked over at their facility.
Well, let's thank the Legion. 'Cause it really looks good.
Amen.
That's all.
Sabrina, new business? Lori?
The only thing I have is I will not be at the next meeting. Sabrina will just be filling in for me, so.
And I'll be gone also. So will you be here, Billy?
Here,
So Billy will,
Lord willing.
Lord will. So Billy.
We're going opposite directions.
Yeah.
Well, I was getting ready to say, where's the convention?
I'm going out west.
Yeah. I guess I'm going east, aren't I? That's what I'm told anyway. So, new business, Arlene?
I think Tammy brought up about the fishing equipment. If anybody wanted to sponsor that, I think Denny kind of hinted at an ordinance. I would just suggest maybe talking to Tammy and finding out what the needs are. That's something that we could probably get Tyler to do under code enforcement if we wanted some kind of ordinance. He may be able to police that some under.
Tyler will
What
enjoy
type
it.
of equipment would, Arlene? I couldn't hear you.
That's something that, you know, the police in Tyler could enforce through code enforcement if you wanted to do something like that. So somebody just have to sponsor it, so.
Anybody make a mistake.
That's to say,
I mean, I think that's a little harsh going for an ordinance on the.
Have we
fishing
talked-
boats they draw, or-
Yeah, and that's your all's call. So I'm just saying procedure-wise of how you approach it, so.
We offer fishing, so that's gonna be part of it,
It's just there's been a lot more lately,
probably a lot more fishing.
yeah, a lot, and it's just been an issue, if they could just clean up after themselves would be a lot better, because fishermen start to see it, look hard to see, and with all the kids that we are pulling into the park, it makes them work on it.
And maybe Jody can rely when they're fishing and say, hey, make sure you clean your mess up and do it.
or the fishermen that are there that's been there for years, because you
Right.
know who they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Mention it to them that, hey, can you kindly pass the word along that if things aren't cleaned up?
But you have several regulars,
Yeah, several regulars
several regulars.
A sign may be the easiest fix.
Sure.
to try. So,
Leslie?
No, sir.
Terry?
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Other business? Does anyone have any other business to discuss? Bring forward? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Motion by Clayton, second. Second by Tootie, all in favor?